funny.
No.
Profile all day.
I'll slide back over back.
Matt's profile.
Hello, I'd like to call to order I believe it's 14th, January 14th voting meeting to order. Roll call vote, please, Mr. Zarone.
Mr. Bazali, Mr. Cortez.
Here.
Mrs. Gray.
Here.
Mr. Morella.
Here.
Mr. Newpower.
Here.
Mrs. Pansera.
Here.
Mrs. Petrelli.
Here.
Ms. Toman.
Here.
Mrs. Woodhead.
Here.
Ms. Schertz.
Here.
Mr. Mancini.
Here.
Mr. DeCaro.
Here.
Would everybody stand for a minute of silent meditation and a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look over the meeting from the December 3rd. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting, the minutes? So moved. Ms. Toman. Second? Mrs. Gray? The minutes are, I'm sorry? Oh, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes. We're going to go back to the visitors now. Please state your name, please.
Bob Cunningham, just here as a visitor.
I'm Amanda Sipes. I'm one of the parent liaisons for the pilot program.
My name is Rachel Mabriel, and I'm the other parent liaison for the dyslexia and early literacy intervention pilot program that's going on in kindergarten right now. We just wanted you guys to have our information and know that we were the contact people if any parents would come with you guys to questions or anything. I believe Ms. Toman has my email, so she can pass it along if anyone would need it.
Anything to report?
We have monthly conference calls with the PDE. Both of us call in, and we are in contact with the Hatian representative and the representatives from the other school districts, and everyone kind of just gives bits and pieces of what's going on in their district. We really never have anything to report. We're still kind of like trying to get our focus together. We do meet with Ms. Gibson and Mrs. Masiosi once a month, and we have our next meetings tomorrow. We've actually compiled a list of questions that we have for them that we've been getting from parents. So we'll have a lot more to report on our next conference call. But other than that, there's no data yet. They did their first round of Dibble's Next testing to the kindergartners. Their next one will be in February. So that's the only measure that they really have right now as far as what's going on. And we're not, obviously, we don't have that information. I'd like to get it though, and I'd like to actually observe some of the classrooms, so we're working on that as well.
Does anybody have any questions for them? Next.
I'm Jeff Crossovic. Is this the appropriate time for comments?
Public comment.
Yes.
The other thing, I just came tonight because I saw the article in the paper regarding the Makers Space, I think it's called, which sounds like an amazing program, and I can't imagine anybody not supporting that. I mean, it really sounds like a neat thing. But I wanted to tell you guys that I really appreciate the discussion you're having over, how much of it to fund, whether to fund it all or anything, because, they're big dollars, and it was about a year ago, I think, that I was here, that there was an outside company that came in and did a study on your technology infrastructure, how lacking it was, and how it was going to cost us over $1 million to get it where it should be, and for $800,000 we might be okay. And so I know, there's a limited number of dollars to go around, and I'm sure you guys are, prioritizing as best you can. The cost of a teacher, I think, is really more so maybe than $150,000 for the equipment and all those things. The cost of the teacher, which is just going to increase year after year after year after year, regardless of what happens to that program, that teacher's here. So, I just want to mention those couple of things. I would also you know, I don't know if there's a rush to judgment here. I know you guys are supposed to vote on this tonight, but, you know, I don't know if our corporate partners like the Forge or Medco would be interested in maybe, you know, funding some of this for us in the interest of engineering or, you know, R&D type development, those kind of things for our kids to grow in that environment. I would think that they would be. So, you know, I would hope that maybe we would exhaust all those opportunities for additional funding before we rush into something and either half funded or fully funded without being able to really afford it, those kind of things. So I just want to mention that, and then I just have one comment on a different side, which is Mr. Morella's comments has nothing to do with the turf, so don't worry about that. What this does have to do
Which
with...
Mr. Morella, please be
Darren,
specific.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
About Darren and about, but his comment regarding the shoes, I was shocked when I read that about the shoes. And I'm wondering, and I'm putting this out there for you guys, is it time we pull the plug on buying shoes? Because we don't buy shoes for track, and we don't buy shoes for cross country, we don't buy shoes for the band, and we don't buy shoes for the volleyball team. I looked at, while I was waiting to come in, I noticed there's a picture out here of football players. None of them have the same shoes on. I don't know if, I'm sure we provide them in a baseball team. I don't know how many people buy their own, but, you know, so we say 5,000, 10,000, but if we're just wasting our money, is it time we pull the plug on that? I see Mr. Miller shaking his head. You know, because really, these kids, they don't want to wear what we buy. I mean, so those are the two things I'd like to mention. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. Is everybody right? I don't see anybody.
Student council.
Yeah, student council, okay. Now will Ms. Sydney Schertz, if you'd like to give us your report.
Okay.
Student council.
Hi, I'm Sydney Schertz. I'm a senior and I'm vice president of student council. The Senior High Student Council and Mr. Gavis, our sponsor, would like to congratulate and welcome the new members of the school board and wish all of our administration and board members a happy and safe new year. We have had an excellent semester at Lincoln High School, and we are looking forward to a very strong finish as well. Here are some of the events we have planned and accomplished recently. The Student Council was able to purchase and donate Christmas gifts to 2 of our students' families. One of the families has unfortunately experienced a very serious illness from their mother and another one of their children. We were able to purchase a gift for all 7 members of the family to add some Christmas cheer to their lives. The family sent a beautiful thank you note to us and to Mr. Davis. We were also able to purchase a series of gifts for 7th graders whose parents' financial situation is in need. Another event we held was the Christmas dance. We have an annual Christmas dance every year, and this year we held it in the Connequanessing Country Club. It's a beautiful venue, and everyone had a wonderful time. The food was delicious, the music was fantastic, and a good time was had by all. Clark Studio provided a photo booth and portraits as well. We would like to thank Mr. Sovich for coming, and the Ellwood City Police had an officer there. It was a great turnout for grades 9 through 12. As for our fundraising, we're selling Daffin's chocolate-covered Oreos. It's been a very successful project for us. We plan on sending school supplies to Uganda with a former Lincoln High School student who will be going there this summer for a mission trip. That wraps it up for now. We will have some new and interesting projects to report in the upcoming board meetings.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you going to go ahead? You can go
Yeah.
ahead and leave if you'd like.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
The superintendent's report will be next.
Thank you, Ms. President. I have just 2 items. Just a reminder that Monday is an in-service day, so there'll be no school for students on January 18th. Secondly, the Pennsylvania School Boards Association has every year chosen the month of January as School Director Recognition Month. And I'd just like to read the resolution according to PSBA for our school board. School Director Recognition Month, January 2016. Whereas the role of locally elected school officials has served the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and local communities in meeting the needs of public education since the passage of the Free School Act in 1834, and whereas these local boards have discharged their responsibilities to public education in a manner which has placed public education in the forefront of our educational systems, and whereas locally elected officials have distinguished themselves in their communities in this non-paid volunteer public service commitment, and whereas the contributions of these men and women should be recognized and appreciated by those who benefit from the workings of our public school system, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Pennsylvania School Boards Association hereby proclaims the month of January as School Director Recognition Month in this Commonwealth, and further resolved that this proclamation be communicated to all districts, school officials, and local communities in a planned program which brings visibility and awareness to the role of locally elected school officials to the citizenry of the Commonwealth. Again, as district administrators, we thank you for your time and your effort dedicating to the students of Ellwood City, and we just would like to present you with a certificate mentioning so. Ms. Gray, Mr. Morella, Mr. Newpower, and Sarah, Mr. Trelli, Ms. Tillman, Ms. Woodhead,
Thank you.
and Mr. Cortez.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for your time and effort and volunteering for the students of Ellwood City. It's greatly appreciated. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, moving on to Revenue and Finance. Mr. Newpower, would you please do us the honors?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Tonight under Revenue and Finance, number 7, General Fund Treasurer's Report. In your folder are the General Fund Treasurer's Report for the period November 1 through November 30, 2015, and December 1 through December 31, 2015. The summary of accounts at November 30 is as follows. West Banco checking, $349,839.24. PLGIT, $10,326.56. PSDLAF, $1,385.21. PA Invest, $378.87. West Banco Certificates of Deposit, $3,524,741.13. West Banco Public Investment Account, $1,261,587.75. Total cash and investments at November 30, 2015, $5,148,258.76. The summary of accounts at December 31 is as follows. West Banco checking, $267,861.17. PLGIT, $10,327.70. PSDLAF, $1,385.21. PA Invest, $378.92. West Banco Bank Public Investment Account, $626,669.86. West Banco Certificate of Deposit, $2,519,991.05. Total cash and investments at December 31, 2015, $3,426,613.91. I move the Treasurer's reports for the months of November and December 2015 excuse me, be approved as presented.
I have a motion. Oh.
Mr. Newpower.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Need a second.
Second, Mrs. Gray. Sorry. Any objections to the motion?
Questions on the motion?
Oh, sorry, that's not on here. Any questions on the motion? No?
Objections.
Any objections to the motion? Motion approved.
Number 8, General Fund Accounts Payable Report. In your folder are the General Fund Accounts Payable checks. Included are checks 111154 through 111444. 290 checks and 19 wire transfers amounting to $3,805,807.08. I move the General Fund Accounts Payable checks and wire transfers be approved as presented.
Second, Mrs. Woodhead. Any objection, or excuse me, any questions to the motion? Any objections to the motion? Motion approved.
Number 9, Capital Reserve Fund Treasurer's Report. In your folder is the Capital Reserve Fund Treasurer's Report for December. The total investments at December 31, 2015 were $2,194.24, with $6,605.20 in the checking account, for a total available of $8,799.44. I move the Capital Reserve Fund Treasurer's Report for December 2015 be approved as presented.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Number 10, Capital Reserve Fund Accounts Payable Report. In your folder is the Capital Reserve Fund Accounts Payable Report. Included is one check, number 1448, amounting to $2,365.50. I move the report be approved as presented.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Number 11, Quarterly Earned Income Tax Report. In your folder is the Quarterly Earned Income Tax Report as of December 31, 2015. I move the report be approved as presented.
Second. Mrs. Woodhead. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
I would also ask that the following reports be made part of the minutes of this evening's meeting. As of October 31, 2015, the tax collection report, expenditure versus budget, revenue versus budget. As of November 30, 2015, the tax collection report, revenue versus budget, expenditures versus budget, athletic facility report, Helen Stadium Century Club report. And as of December 31, 2015, investment report, investment earnings report, athletic facility fund report, Helen Stadium Century Club.
Mr. Zeroon, could you please make sure those be made part of the minutes? Thank you.
Number 12, tax refund requests. In your folder, property tax refund calculations for Perry Township residents Lee Harshel, located at 1479 Hill Road, Harmony, PA, and Ronald Lagana, 206 Mahoney Avenue, Ellwood City, PA, and a per capita tax refund for Suzanne Stenzel at 380 Pittsburgh Circle, Ellwood City, PA. The overpayments have been confirmed by the Perry Township and Ellwood City tax collectors. I move the refunds be approved as presented.
Second. Mrs. Gray. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Number 13, service agreement, Worksite Medical, formerly Apple Occupational. In your folder is an agreement between the district and Worksite Medical, formerly Apple Occupational Health, to provide random drug testing and breath alcohol testing for the period January 1, 2016 through December 31, 2016. The rates remain unchanged at $65 per drug test, $30 per breath alcohol screen, and administrative and technician fees of $65 per hour. I move the agreement be approved as presented.
Second. Mrs. Woodhead. Any questions? No. Any objections to the motion? Motion approved.
Number 14, budget display, advertising, referendum resolution. In your folder is a resolution authorizing the proposed preliminary budget be displayed and advertised, and authorizing application for referendum exceptions relative to the 2016-17 budget. I move the resolution be approved as presented.
Second.
Second, Mr. Cortez. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
And that's all under revenue and finance, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Newport. Moving on to personnel and education, Mrs. Pansara.
Thank you, Ms. President. Substitute list. In your folder is a list of substitute non-professional cafeteria personnel for the 2015-2016 school year. I move that the list be approved as presented.
Second? Ms. Toman? Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Bus driver. In your folder are additions to the bus driver list submitted by Ellwood City Transit for the remainder of the 2015-2016 school year. I move that the list be approved as presented.
Second. Mrs. Woodhead. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Ellwood City Library Board. I move that Martin Barsati and Judith Kindle be appointed to the Ellwood City Library Board for a 3-year term effective January 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2018.
Second.
Mr. Cortez. Any questions? Any objections? Motion passes.
Student teacher. I move that the following student teacher placement be approved. A, Miss Michaela Stevens from Geneva College be authorized to complete her student teaching assignment under the supervision of Ms. Julie Mamunsky, I can never pronounce it, at Perry Lower Middle Intermediate and Hartman Intermediate Schools in elementary music from January 12, 2016 through March 4, 2016. And I apologize.
Second. Mrs. Gray. Any questions? Any objections? Motion passes.
Sometime I'll get her name right.
It's a tough one.
Lawrence County Career and Technical Center Board appointment. I move that Matt Morello be appointed to the board of the LCCTC.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Cortez.
Mr. President, it's really the joint operating committee of
Okay.
the Career and Technical Center, so if we want to amend the motion.
Okay. Do we have to do that by rereading?
I think Kathy can just say she's amending it, and Mr. Cortez, if he was the second, can second
Okay.
it.
I need to amend the motion. I move that Matt Morello be appointed to the joint operating committee of the board of the LCCTC.
Second.
Mr. Cortez. Okay, any questions? Any objections? Motion approved. You're not allowed.
Got in there twice.
Grievance 01-2015-2016 and 02-2015-16. A, I move that grievance 01-20516 be denied at step 3 of the grievance procedure.
Second.
Second, Mr. Cortez. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
B, I move that the grievance 02-21516 be denied at step 3 of the grievance procedure.
Second, Mrs. Gray. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Psychologist intern. I move that the administration be authorized to advertise for a psychologist intern for the 2016-2017 school year at a stipend in the range of $10,000 to $15,000.
Second,
Second.
Mr. Cortez. Any questions? Any objections to the motion? Motion approved.
Expulsion stipulation agreement. The administration and parents have reached a stipulated agreement in expulsion 2-2015-16. The agreement calls for the student, DC, to be expelled from the Ellwood City Area School District effective June 6, 2016.
January 6th.
What did I say?
June. We're
Oh,
wishing.
I apologize.
We're hoping.
January 6, 2016 through the end of the first term of 2016-17, at which point the student may petition for readmission. I move that the stipulated adjunction and disposition in expulsion 2-2015-16 be approved, accepted, and approved as presented.
Second,
Second.
Mrs. Stoneman. Ms. Stoneman.
Judy
Any
from-
questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Cafeteria hire. I move that Kim Kimmel be hired to the 4.5-hour cafeteria position at Lincoln High School under the terms and conditions of the collective bargaining agreement.
Second,
Second.
Mr. Cortez. Any questions? Any objections to the motion? Motion approved.
Spring coaches. In your folders, a list of coaches that's submitted by the athletic director for the 2016 spring sports season. I move the list be approved as presented.
Second,
Second.
Mrs. Woodhead. Any questions? Any objections to the motion? Motion approved.
That's all I have, Ms. President.
Thank you. Mrs. Pansara. Moving on to properties and transportation, Mr. Cortez, would you do us the honors?
Thank you, Madam President. 25, facility request. A, Lincoln High School Cheering Boosters request permission to operate the concession stand during the boys junior high, junior varsity, and varsity home basketball games, as well as home wrestling matches for the 2016-17 school year. B, Ellwood City Art Club requests space, the old art room in the basement of Lincoln High School, to hold classes in the evenings and the fourth Saturday of the month from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. C, Special Olympics of Lawrence County request permission to use Lincoln High School Big Gym for basketball practice on Saturdays at the athletic director's discretion on January 23rd and 30th, February 6th, 13th, 20th, 27th, March 5th, 12th, 19th, 26th, April 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th, May 7, 14, 21, and 28, and June 4th, 2016. D, Ellwood City Girls Softball League request permission to use the Lincoln High School small gym on Saturday, March 12th, Saturday, March 19th, 2016 for softball practice from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. E, Ellwood City Arts, Craft, and Food Festival Committee request the use of Ewing Park School Ground property and football stadium lot on Joffrey Street across from the practice field during the annual festival. The festival will be held this year on Friday, July 1st, Saturday, July 2nd, Sunday, July 3rd, 2016. The baseball and football stadium are also requested for annual fireworks display on Sunday, July 3rd, along with Lincoln High School parking lot for people using the festival shuttle during these 3 days. F, Ellwood City Amateur Baseball Federation requests the use of Sanders Field, Friedoff Field, T-ball and shot put area, batting cages, restroom, press boxes, concession stands for the 2016 baseball season through the end of July. Practices and games begin at 5 p.m. Monday through Friday to Saturday as a makeup day. I move the facility request be approved as presented.
Second. Mr. Morella, any questions?
I have a couple.
Sure.
The art club, after the discussion with the update, doesn't it raise more questions than we have answers?
Such as?
Issue with the restrooms. ADA compliance.
Yeah, I mean, there is a restroom down there, but there are some steps that would be involved. So I think that would be the ADA piece of it. So, I mean, you have to go up and down steps to get there, you know, number one. If they come in through the, we were talking about access too today. Mr. Sovich was talking about how would they get access. We have to work out those parameters, whether it be through the side door or through the teacher entrance and come down the steps. So, as far as restroom, I mean, there's one down there you just have to walk through and you have to go up a couple steps. It's down in that basement, so I don't know, ADA or.
I can look into that if that's gonna be, do you know if the restroom itself is ADA accessible? That would be the bigger concern.
That I don't know, I'm not 100% sure.
Which one?
The sinks have to be
down
like
by the-
lower, like
Mr. Pride?
Yeah, it's probably, it's not
Yeah.
by Mr. Pride, it's
For
not, no, I would say no.
wheelchairs and stuff.
Yeah.
No. There's stairs to get up to
Yep,
the bathroom.
correct. That's what,
We're not gonna be charging them anything. We're not leasing it, or are we?
well, that was the next piece of, I guess, would probably come up also, if there was gonna be any charge.
Did everybody have a chance to read the update?
They were paying $300 a month plus electric where they were. I think the discussion with, they would pay something, and I guess it would just become, part of the board here to decide, if you wanted to charge them rental fee. I know for right now, like we charge, part of the policy is $20 a classroom, per time, but I don't think we would do that, especially if it's like a community thing, so.
Would there be a difference in our ADA compliance between leasing and giving?
I think I have to look into it, but I believe it would make a difference if we're policing versus just permitting the use.
So if we permit the use and if they want to donate to the school or something once a year, then that would be an acceptable way to do it. If the law allows us to do that. Is everybody okay with that?
Or should we table?
Well, that's what, I was just questioning with what Ms. Tillman said. Should we table it till we have
Till
more
we know.
answers? I know they're anxious probably to get out of there, but
Did
I
they
don't
give
think
us
they
a
should move
timeframe?
in without us
No.
knowing.
Okay.
They didn't give us.
We do have another meeting on the 27th. Can we table it till the 27th?
That would give me time to look into
Does
that.
that give you adequate time? Do we need a second, or do we have to table?
I would just have somebody move to table it and then a second.
Okay,
Actually, I was going to ask, I was going to move that we vote on each of these A through F separately.
Sure. You can do that, yep.
Okay, and then when we get to that.
Correct, whenever they're lumped together like that, we can request to pull out one or all. So I would maybe first have a motion to table B.
Okay. Somebody like to make a motion to table letter B?
I can do it.
Okay.
B? Yeah, I can make that motion. Is that proposal?
Second.
Second, please.
Second.
Second, Mrs. Panzera.
All in favor to table B?
All in favor to table item B?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion B tabled.
And then just do the vote on each one. It's already been seconded by Mr. Morella, all of them, so you can just vote them separately.
Okay, so we need, okay, do we want a roll call vote, or
We can, I believe that's what.
is that
was-
what? Yes. Okay. Roll call vote on, find letter A.
Sure.
Find it.
Okay, letter 25A. Mr. Cortez?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Morella?
Yes.
Mr. Newpower?
Yes.
Mrs. Panzera?
Yes.
Mrs. Petrelli?
Yes.
Ms. Toman?
Yes.
Mrs. Woodhead?
Yes.
Okay, motion approved.
25C.
B is done, yes.
Can we do discussion on C?
Sure.
What, the wording is new to me. We're giving him approval, but it's, Mr. Morella can change it if, what does that mean?
If there's a conflict of practice, they'll work out times, like if there's baseball or softball or basketball or girls, to work out different times that, maybe they can't come in that day because girls and boys basketball's practicing and baseball and softball are practicing, so they'll work out those dates and times with them, but those are the dates they're requesting, so.
So, and John knows this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Do we have a second, or we're
No,
just doing
we'll
a
go
roll
roll
call? Okay, roll call.
Are we ready? Okay, Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Morella?
Yes.
Mr. Newpower?
Yes.
Mrs. Panzera?
Yes.
Mrs. Petrelli?
Yes.
Ms. Toman?
Yes.
Mrs. Woodhead?
Yes.
Mr. Cortez?
Yes.
Motion approved.
25D. Mr. Morella?
Yes.
Mr. Newpower?
Yes.
Mrs. Panzera?
Yes.
Mrs. Petrelli?
Yes.
Ms. Toman?
Yes.
Mrs. Woodhead?
Yes.
Mr. Cortez?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
25E.
Approved.
Mr. Newpower?
Yes.
Mrs. Panzera?
Yes.
Mrs. Petrelli?
Yes.
Ms. Toman?
No.
Mrs. Woodhead?
No.
Mr. Cortez?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
No.
Mr. Morella?
Yes.
Motion approved.
25F. Mrs. Panzera?
Yes.
Mrs. Petrelli?
Yes.
Ms. Toman?
Yes.
Mrs. Woodhead?
Yes.
Mr. Cortez?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Morella?
Yes.
Mr. Newpower?
Yes.
Okay, motion approved.
26, athletic bids for supplies. I move the administration be authorized to advertise and accept bids for general art, industrial art, athletic, custodial, nursing supplies for the 2016-17 school year.
Second?
Second.
Pansara. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
27, removal of old obsolete equipment. I move that the piano owned by Cindy Partow and loaned to the district for the last 15 years, which is unneeded and unusable, be donated to the family of Tracy and Cameron Cortez family at Mrs. Partow's request and direction.
Second?
Second.
Mrs. Tillman. And
I have a question.
questions?
How is that going to be removed and transported and?
I believe Cameron Cortez has a professional moving company that's going to remove it.
Okay. Just wanna make
So
sure.
he told me.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
All right? I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'll
My
speak
bad
up.
here. 28, police protection agreement. In your folder is a copy of the police protection agreement between the district. I move that the police protection agreement be approved as presented.
Second. Mrs. Gray. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
That's all I have tonight, Madam President, under properties and transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Student Affairs and Athletics, Mr. Morella.
Thank you, Mr. President. Number 29, social events. A, Mrs. Melissa Pigza and Mrs. Dina Noble, senior class advisors, request permission to take the senior class to Cedar Point Amusement Park in Sandusky, Ohio. They will leave by bus at 8 a.m. and return at approximately 8 p.m. on Thursday, May 19th, 2016. And B, Mrs. Lisa Leonberg, ECPE advisor, request permission to take the ECPE club to Seven Springs on Saturday, February 6th, 2016. They'll depart by bus at 1 p.m. and return at approximately midnight. I move that these social events be approved as presented.
Second.
Second.
Mrs. Pansara. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Number 30, field trip. A, Mr. Scott Buffington, Lincoln History Club sponsor, request permission to take the History Club to the Historic Triangle in Williamsburg, Virginia. They will depart by bus at 7 a.m. on Saturday, May 21st, 2016, and return at approximately 8 p.m. on Tuesday, May 24th, 2016. I move that the field trip be approved as presented.
Second.
Mr. Cortez. Any questions? No questions, no objections? Motion approved.
Number 31, comprehensive plan. The district's comprehensive plan for the period 2016 through 2019 is available for review on the district's website. I move that it be acknowledged and placed on the agenda of the February meeting for board consideration.
Second. Mrs. Woodhead. Any questions? Any objections to the motion? Motion passes.
Number 32, technology proposal. I move to approve the administration's Wolverine workshop plan for Hartman and Lincoln and to provide the necessary funding to adopt the programs for the 2016-2017 school year.
Second.
Second.
Mrs. Pansara. Any questions?
I have a question. What is that number for the total funding?
There isn't a total fund.
You don't
There
have
is
a number?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So it's not on the $150,000 that they gave us the other night? It's not based on that?
It's based off that, yes. How much can I just explain what we did?
Go ahead.
Okay. What we did was we were discussing the proposal, and we changed the wording in the proposal so that we have, what do you want to call it? We moved forward with it, but we're still going to go out into the community and be active in trying to get some resources to help us fund it. But we are making we're taking the necessary steps to get it, and we're going to make sure that it is implemented for the 2016-17 school year.
This is both Hartman and Lincoln?
This is both Hartman and Lincoln's.
So it's not going to be at the cost of?
Well, hopefully it's going to be
150,000?
less than that. Yes.
Because, okay.
And are we, another question, like how we were going through, like just say we don't want to do the engraver, that, you know, we were talking different, are we?
Right, they haven't, I think they were.
Like just say they don't
selecting.
get any more donations, and they're
Right.
at the donations that we're aware of. are we able at that point to tell them, you know, we don't wanna do
There's
the
X
engraver
amount of
this
money.
time, we'll do the engraver next
Right,
year, you
like-
know, are we able to like kinda,
At whose discretion is the money, you know? So everything will come, we have to
Everything will
approve
come through
the
the board.
purchases then? They're not
Budget.
just gonna,
Through the budget.
Well, this
Right.
motion says the necessary funding.
yeah.
Right.
That's what I was asking. I wanted everybody to be aware of the numbers.
Right.
Right.
yeah.
I can amend the motion to read,
To not to exceed the 150, if that would make,
I don't even like the 150 number.
I'd like to ask for a roll call vote for that.
I guess we should be clear on what you're voting on. So if the intent of the motion is just
Right.
to give the administration authority to.
move forward
uh,
with
the-
scheduling.
The general plan of having the workshop
And
with
having the teacher.
further approval needed on the specific dollar amounts that are being.
We're all for it, but it's the dollar that.
Yeah, yeah.
But regardless, if you're gonna move forward with the plan at Lincoln, you have to hire a teacher, period.
Right. And that's what this is stating, is that we're going to move forward
Which
with
is why
that.
I wanted everybody to be aware, because the way the motion was worded, you don't want someone coming back several months later and saying, we approve this.
Thank you.
Because it's kind of like they just have free, the way it's worded, it's like they
Right.
just have free
The
reign
motion doesn't
to,
make any sense.
to get what they want.
Well,
That's-
the motion would, as stated, I think, would be approving the plan that was presented on Monday.
We're moving forward with the plan and providing the necessary funding. If we don't get the funding, then we are going to,
Have to take the full responsibility.
exactly.
Are we able to table this till we see what kind of funds we get?
Well, that would cause the problem. That's why Mr. Lake needed to know, because scheduling actually starts in February. So we have to make a commitment for the teacher at the high school in order for them to be able to schedule.
Could we at least table it till the 27th and give them more time to,
That's, you're talking about a week or two. You're not gonna find out too much. We need to get a PR plan together, a marketing plan together
so it's
to
not
get
just as
out
simple
there.
as them like calling, I don't know, you know.
There's a time that, you know, they don't get back to you right away, and we need to assemble a plan.
John's been working on getting funding for the last 2 years for this.
Right.
Now, we come up with a few other resources, but, you know, you have to set up meetings, and you have to pitch it, and you have to then get the approval, and
So say they get, I'm just throwing this number out there, say they get $50,000. Okay, will that then come off the budget?
Yes.
That's not gonna get added
no,
to that
that's why
150,
we
so they
remade,
are
that's
now
why
up to
we wanted to
200.
redo the proposal, so that it came off of it.
You could, Mr. Morello, if you wish to amend it to say to provide the necessary funding less any donations and grants received.
That's, and I was
To
thinking,
clarify your issue, Ms.
Right.
That's-
You know,
yes.
whatever money they get is coming off
Off
our
of that
budget.
original.
Yes, okay,
Yes.
okay.
so I'll amend the motion to approve the administration's Wolverine workshop plans for Hartman and Lincoln, and to provide the necessary funding less the contributions that we receive from outside contributors, and adopt this program for the 2016-17 school year.
Second.
Second.
Very good.
Seconded by Mrs. Pansara. Any other questions? Any objections?
I called for a roll call.
Roll call vote. Okay, roll call vote, please, Mr. Zarone.
Mrs. Petrelli,
Yes.
Ms. Toman,
No.
Mrs. Woodhead,
no.
Mr. Cortez,
Yes.
Mrs. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Morella,
Yes.
Mr. Newpower,
Yes.
Mrs. Panzera.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Number 33, revised policies, sorry. In your folder, letter A, in your folder is revised policy number 005, organization, and B, in your folder is revised policy number 916, volunteer. I move the policies be acknowledged, incorporated into the minutes of this evening's meeting, and placed on the agenda of a subsequent meeting for board consideration.
Second.
Second.
Mrs. Pansara. Any questions? Any objections? Motion passes.
Number 34, athletic expense report. In your folder is the athletic fund treasurer's report for December 2015 that reflects total expenses of $30,349.95. I move that the athletics expense report be approved as presented.
second? Ms. Gray, any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Number 35, Activity Fund Quarterly Report. In your folder is the Activity Fund Quarterly Report as of December 31, 2015. It reflects a starting balance of $71,627.38, receipts of $48,478.16, expenditures of $22,490.88, resulting in a balance of $97,583.26. I move the quarterly activity report be approved as presented.
Second. Mrs. Gray, any questions? Any objections? Motion passes.
And that is all I have tonight under student affairs and athletics, Mr. President.
Thank you. Next is recognition and communications, and I have a few accommodations to read. First, Mr. Lake would like to congratulate Lincoln's 7th grade Molly McCommons, who recently was undefeated in the propaganda identification competition, and today she won the president's competition, which has now qualified her for the nationals in Atlanta, Georgia. Congratulations to Molly and good luck. And I say congratulations to her myself and wish her the best. The next one comes from Mr. Mancini. This is Mrs. Teresa Boots has made a donation to benefit our district's homeless students and would like to recognize her for her kindness and generosity.
She's a cafeteria worker.
She's a cafeteria worker.
Oh, thanks. That's nice.
Very nice.
That is very nice. The next letter is from Kathy McCommons. She writes, she's president of the elementary PTO. And she writes, Dear Ellwood City Area School Board of Directors and Administration, on behalf of the Ellwood City Area PTO, we would like to thank Mrs. Laura Adams and Ms. Casey Filatico for volunteering their time at our elementary Family Fun Night, December 10th. They did a fantastic job leading our students and families in Christmas caroling. We truly appreciate them giving their time during the very busy holiday season. We would also like to thank Mr. Mike Nacera for always being so helpful during all PTO events. Once again, we could not have managed such a large event without him. Our Family Fun Night was a wonderful event attended by over 200 students and their families. We also appreciate the use of Northside Primary Center. With gratitude, Kathy McCommons, ECE PTO. And our last one tonight is from Principal Mr. Keeley from Hartman Intermediate and Perry Lower Intermediate. First, he'd like to congratulations to the Perry students and staff for being recognized as the 2016 Distinguished Title I School. This distinction goes to the top 5% of Title I schools in the Commonwealth. Perry was one of just 96 schools recognized this year. This is the second year in a row that Perry has been honored as such. Second one is congratulations to the Hartman Hockey League intramural champions. Representing Mrs. Cortez's homeroom, Drake Tomac, Jacob Iris, thank you. Zion Bunny, Bradley Spangler, Camden Franzen, Reese, Shano, I apologize, and Grace Balin. Ooh, we had a girl out there. Go girl, go Grace. Mr. Wilfong is the sponsor, and he treats every hockey moment like a teachable moment. The third one is congratulations to Maddie McCommons for her performance at the recent linguistics competition. Maddie went undefeated in 3 rounds and has thus qualified for the state level competition. The ECE PTO did a lot of great things in December, and here are just a few of them he quotes. He wants to thank the ECE PTO, who on December 11th provided funding that brought Josh and Gab and an anti-bullying rock band to Hartman and Perry. This is the 4th year that Josh and Gab have performed for our students. They loved the performance and were the recipients of a great message. Number 5, between December 7th and December 11th, the ECE PTO organized the Jingle Drive, where each day students donated coins and participated in fun activities like Wild Crazy Hair Day. The 3 elementary schools collected a total of $3,435.14. That money is used to help the neediest families in Ellwood City. The PTO spends countless hours counting, wrapping, and rolling money. Thank you for all that you do for our students and our community. Number 6, the week before Christmas, the ECE PTO sold candy cane grams to students at Hartman and Perry. For just 25 cents, students got to send a candy cane to someone of their choice in the school. The students love this activity. Thank you for doing it. And last but not least, he'd like to thank the ECO PTO he says that the ECE PTO organized and sponsored the Christmas party. All of our classes were treated to a treat as well as some fun and games. Thank you to the PTO. Sincerely, Frank Keeley, Principal. And that's all I have today under recognition.
Ms.
and
Petrelli, I have another one.
Wonderful, go ahead.
I'd like to recognize Lincoln Junior Tyler Alberts, who I believe won back-to-back MAC championships at the MAC tournament this past weekend at the 126-pound level. And I believe Tyler Baird is a sophomore, and he placed second. I think he was at 106. So congratulations to those two, and the team overall did pretty well, placing 8th, and some other guys placed. So they had a good showing at the MAC tournament.
That's wonderful, thank you. Anybody have anything else? Okay. Moving on to new business. Oh, it's on the back. This? Okay. All right. I would like to read new business. Mr. Morello, would you be so kind?
Yep. Number 36 under new business board meeting schedule. I move that a special meeting be scheduled for January 27th at 6 p.m. and a committee regular meeting be scheduled for
Is this the date?
to be determined date, and that the February 11th meeting be held in the cafeteria at Perry Lower Intermediate School, the May 12th meeting be held in the cafeteria at Hartman Intermediate School, and the September 8th meeting be held in the library at Northside Primary School.
Should I get a second first, or should we discuss it? Second? Mrs. Gray? Questions? We need to discuss the second meeting, whether we choose to have it in September or October, and what date. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to take a look at their schedule. Is there a better month first? September versus October? Do it in September? And does anybody have a preference on doing a Tuesday meeting or a week? Would we say like a week?
The meeting right now is on the 8th, and the 5th is Labor Day, so you know, that Monday. So you want to do it the 6th and 8th, or 8th and...
That's September, right, Mr.
Yep.
Mancini?
Yes, we're looking at September.
September.
We have to have the general meeting back. We have to have the general meeting on the 7th. We can't move the general meeting back.
That's all they said.
Can't move,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I
She
didn't hear what you
said
said.
move it ahead to the next. That's the other
Oh,
thing she said.
I think you were saying,
No,
put the
have
committee.
it one the 8th and then
Do one
the
either
following, that's
one.
our-
15th, you gotta work, it's a Lawrence County Low Tech meeting, so you have two members that would
That's
be in
right.
conflict. So that third Thursday is always the Lawrence County Career and Technical Center Board meeting, so
Is the
Tuesday
6th
works for everybody.
Is
No one's
the
going
6th
away.
of Tuesday okay? Okay, then we're
September
gonna,
6th.
Then I'll amend the motion to include that to be determined date to be September 6th at 7 p.m.
can I get a second, please? Miss- Oh, no, it was,
Oh,
it
Jen.
was Ms. Toman.
I thought it was
Okay. Any questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
Number 37, Perry Boiler Project. In your folder is a proposal to provide architectural/engineering services for the boiler replacement for Perry Lower Intermediate School submitted by HHSDR. I move the proposal be accepted as presented, that the administration in cooperation with HHSDR be authorized to proceed with receiving bids for the boiler replacement.
Can we just question first? I mean, it's not,
Second to discuss.
okay. Second?
Second.
Mr. Cortez. Okay, questions? We have two bids. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at this? And Mr. Zeron, do you have anything that you can add or
Well, I guess I've had some conversations with CJL, which is an engineer, the architect, and Steve Schuster. And I guess Steve's opinion is that the boiler needs to be replaced. It's 50 years old, approaching 50 years old. And I mean, you can make a repair to it, but we don't know whether it'll last another 5 years or another 5 minutes at this point in time. So, I mean, Steve's recommendation, having looked at it, having walked through the boilers with the CJL representative, is that we take some action to replace it.
Okay, did they manage to pull it out the other day?
They did pull the tubes out. I don't think they're even trying to make the repair on the tubes. I guess these things rust from the inside out, so there's no way to tell. If you weld, you can weld the outside, but you don't know from the inside how bad that situation is. So, again, they're 50 years old, and they're way past their useful life at this point in time. And one is working quite well at this point in time, and it is heating the building. But again, it's the same age and the same make, so we just don't know how long that one will continue to operate efficiently. I've spoken with the architect. I mean, we could fast track this to a certain degree. There would be asbestos abatement involved, and that's a cost of between $7,000 and $10,000. That's a separate contractor. We have used a company called Microbac out of Erie, PA, and that person comes in, he writes the specs for us, receives the bids, and then we award the bid. And again, we'll probably have to make some kind of arrangements to have that work done on a weekend or a Friday night leading into a Saturday.
They give us a time frame if we do go ahead
Well, I mean,
with
we
this?
can get bids back on boilers within 16 or 18 days, but, I mean, again, if the board tells us to go forward, then we'll start. I mean, we've been in contact with everybody. Everybody knows our situation. So it's just a matter of getting the okay, and then we can start to receive bids. I don't want to speak out of turn, and maybe Mr. DeCaro can help me on this, but I believe that the asbestos project would be between 7 and 10. So I'm not sure that that requires a sealed bid. That may just be where we can go out and get, with the help of our spec writer, 3 quotes, which we could then move on that end fairly rapidly. And why we're doing that, we would be advertising 3 weeks as required by law, receiving the bids. We may, if we go forward, we may want to schedule yet another special meeting so that when the bids come in on the most timely basis, we can award it and get rolling. The architect has also suggested that if you're going to go with 2 boilers, that you do it as a phase-in. So we go ahead and put immediately 1 boiler in, which we know is going to sustain us through the remainder of the winter. And then as the heating season ends, when these guys are looking for more work, we would put the second phase in. The other thing we would do is we would bid all these things as an alternate. So it would be 1 boiler, the second boiler would be an alternate, and then again, we have 50-year-old air compressors and air dryers. So that would be yet alternate, 2 and 3. And then finally, again, a nice-to-have thing, automated temperature controls, which would allow Steve to control the heat from his office. At this point in time, he can't do that. Again, once we got the bids in, you could see what the costs look like and make a determination if that's something that the board would like to move forward with. So that's where we are. I did honestly have option 3, which was to repair the boiler, and Steve said it's just not, that's not feasible to do. So that's kind of where we are with it.
But it's 1 boiler heats the whole building, correct?
Correct.
So if we get 1 brand new boiler, that should be good, and then have the old one as the backup?
Yep, you could do that.
And that's option 2?
Yeah, I think that's what, yes. I mean, again, you're going to have your backup's going to be a 50-year-old boiler. I mean, so just keep that in mind, that if you did ever decide that you needed a backup after this one, again, finished up its useful life, then you're going to be back going through a bid process, having contractors come in the second time. And again, it could be more expensive if you do it 1 at a time versus doing them both at one time.
What are the lifespans of these boilers?
Roughly,
we've had these ones since, what, 1960?
Yeah.
But they don't make anything.
It would definitely come with a warranty, but it's not going to be a 50-year warranty.
The alternate bid process too allows you, if you decide, let's just go with one boiler, not the second, not the air, to then just do that. So you may want to just at least authorize the alternate bid process so you can look and see what the cost of everything would be. You're not committed based on the numbers, right?
Correct, that's exactly right.
That's probably the advantage of doing it that way. If the numbers are favorable, you could maybe decide to do something more than just one boiler.
So, but this item we're voting on is just to approve HHSDR to get everything put together and spec it out.
Yeah, and I guess then the timing becomes an issue. So they spec it out, they receive bids, and then we would be doing the same thing with the asbestos. So we'd have both bids come in simultaneously. If after you've seen the bids, you say move forward with the project, then we would award the asbestos contract and we would award the boiler replacement project. There will be costs architecturally wise whether you move forward or not. So that's just the one thing that would be the given, because the work will be done.
I just hope with today's technology that we should be able to buy one brand new boiler and that should be able to sustain us for the next 30 to 50 years. You know, that's what I would hope the price would cover that.
I wouldn't bet that today's boilers
Buy
are
brand
any.
Nothing's made the way it used to be,
No.
Dave. That's the problem.
I highly doubt these ones are gonna last.
I mean, 50 years is way beyond its real service.
You'd be lucky to get 20.
So,
Any other questions?
so we have to pick an option. Is that advertised for them all then?
I mean, I don't think that you really need, well, I guess if you directed me that it's option one, you want to receive the bids with all of the alternates, then I would just tell Bob Engelbaugh that, and that's how he would prepare, the specs. Now, again, just to be clear, I mean,
Oh,
I mean, I guess I do have to know whether you're.
there's a fee because there's a $7,100 fee for them to design a second boiler.
Yeah, that's a good question. I did ask why there was a differential, and if you replace one, you're still doing all the construction documents, you're still going through the bid process. So I guess we are in a position where we have to decide whether you want to go forward with one boiler at this point or the second boiler. Or I can clarify, I'll clarify that with him tomorrow, and I thought I had that squared away. Your point, Mr. Morrell, is that you're going to pay $19,800 whether you replace one or two,
Right.
based on what the board decides tonight.
Correct.
And I apologize, I don't know the answer to that. I did clarify why the price differential between the two, and the fact is that you're going to do the construction documents one way or the other. I mean, is there a way that, Mr. DeCara, that we can amend the motion that allows us to move forward if I get the proper answer and communicate it back to the board?
Yeah, I mean, I guess depending what the board's, wishes would be if the, if that total fee is not acceptable, then I guess it could be worded, doing both if it doesn't exceed a certain amount, but, so I guess we have to see where the board's leaning to figure out how we would amend the motion. So, for example, Mr. Murphy, if the cost for both is a concern at this point, then, if there's a certain number we'd be willing to pay to have both done, it can be approved, provided it doesn't exceed that amount.
Well, I think it's something that we should discuss if we want to do one or two boilers. I think we have estimate costs here. For one boiler is $89,000, and for two boilers it's $159,000. So I think that's something that maybe we should discuss before we send this back to the architect. Or, I mean, it's up to the majority of the board, of course, but I would be okay with one boiler at this point, but that's just me.
Yeah, and I'm going to not guess, but I mean, I think from the conversation I had with the architect, The fee for the second boiler would be less because, or there would be another $7,100 because there's engineering work that would go with it. So the engineering work and the construction documents is the $12,700 for the replacement of one boiler. If the board decided they wanted to go forward with the second boiler, then there would be additional engineering work. So I guess we are in a position where we would have to kind of decide what we want to do.
Because if they're phased in, they're gonna do the other one probably in the summer or spring.
But they would bid it out so that the other one would be done. That's how the specification would be written, so that we do one immediately, and then as these companies understand that it's going to be done after heating season, there might be a price break on the equipment, no labor, and so forth.
Okay, well, let's do a quick polling to see one or two boilers. That's probably the quickest way to get through this. Mrs. Tansara.
Since we don't even know if we're gonna need Perry in 5 years, I agree with Matt that we should go with one.
Okay. One, great, one. Ms. Toman?
One.
Mr. Cortez?
One.
One. Mr. Newpower?
One.
One.
Mr. Morella? One. And I'll go with one, so we have our direction. That was easy.
I guess that was
They second.
the formal vote. I don't know if we formally voted on the motion.
Well, it was.
I think we just decided what the
it was-
motion was. But
It was seconded by Leroy, or excuse me, Mr. Cortez, and then we had the questions.
And we decided we're voting on one
One.
boiler, so we need to vote on the motion.
Okay, so we need to reread it with that in mind, or,
No, I think we
okay.
clarified what the motion is. It's just the
Well,
vote.
does somebody want to second then the motion? Greg?
Second. Again, second.
And any other questions? Any objections? Motion approved.
I have just one more on a new business. I think Mr. Crossvick brought up a good point talking about the shoes and what we fund and what we don't fund. And I mean, the way I see it is whenever I played, they provided the shoes and I had to wear them. Coach Kenton was our coach. If we weren't wearing them, it was a problem. So I think either if we're going to provide the shoes, we need to require our students to wear the shoes, or is that a cost that we can leave to the players that want to play the sport? I know other schools around the area, they charge kids just to play the sport in general, so is asking them to purchase shoes a questionable thing? I know you can find that basketball shoes, I bought a pair the other day myself, like $40, so.
I think we don't do it for all entities, like you brought up the band and track, and, you know.
You kind of have to be
We
fair
don't
across
do
the
it for
board.
everybody, so why would we just
Do it for one.
favor a few?
Yeah.
Well, reason being, I suppose, is that basketball and football are two major sports, I suppose, and we want them to have like a team look to them, so if they're all wearing the same shoes, same shorts, same jerseys, then.
Right, but your dad said, Mr. Morales said that the basketball
they're-
shoes, most of them didn't even wear.
Right,
so.
if we have a picture out there of football players and they're not wearing all the same shoes and they're
So
not,
what's-
they don't match
yeah.
anyway.
I think that's the coach's, I think that's the coach's decision, you know.
That's why when you played for El Canton, everybody had the same shoes.
Wearing the shoes.
The coach more than.
It is.
Well, something else to consider, wrestling has to have a special shoe,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know that that's readily available for people to go buy.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
buy it anywhere.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do we buy wrestling shoes?
Well, I guess just food for thought, I think we do. Mr. Morella, Darren Morella made a presentation the other night about making a transition in how we buy athletic equipment. And what I think I heard was that we allocate so much to each sport and each coach, and then that coach has the free will to decide what he's going to purchase. So I guess, I think his understanding might have been if the coach wants basketball shoes, then he would be free to do that. However, now the board is going to accept his proposal, but yet tell him that coaches can't buy shoes. I think we just need to kind of clarify where we're going with his new purchasing model.
What I think Mr. Morello is trying to say is if we're going to provide the funds for those items, that they're required to use
Where?
those items. Do we ever have a surplus of items? Like, I understand he said the volleyball team had things that they got and their season is over. What do we do with items like that that aren't of use or?
I would assume, and I don't handle that aspect, but there's a storage room where athletic equipment is, it would be in there, and then they would use it as time goes on.
We don't sell that stuff?
Oh, I think we would keep it for a subsequent year.
What happens is, maybe a year later, you need a couple extra uniforms or something, so they gotta take them out of there.
Right, but I'm saying, if we just bought 20 pairs of basketball shoes, nobody wants to wear, what do we do?
Yeah, well, as far as the shoes, as Matt said, certain sports, it may not be, could be a financial burden, but it's not as much, but like football, cleated shoes are expensive. And that's actually part of the safety uniform.
But I
We
mean,
can't not buy that.
I agree with the football spikes, but I think you can get basketball shoes.
Yeah, I
Fairly decent
understand,
price.
yeah. And the other part of it is, in most of the sports, that's part of the uniform.
But then it should be worn. That's, I mean,
Right.
if we're
Right,
paying
right.
for
If
them,
we're
then
paying for it.
the coaches should require them to wear them. And if they don't want to, if the coach is saying they can wear their own, then they can supply their own. I mean, then
I
we should.
think
It's just nowadays,
it's not as-
basketball.
I may not be that simple, because you may have, and I don't know this, but you may have a particular student athlete, the shoes provided for them, because calluses or gets, he can't wear them, put it that way. He gets blisters or whatever, that's all because they're not custom fit shoes. It's not like they go and have them measured, but.
You know what Coach Campbell would say if I said I was something. Wear them some more.
Yeah.
Break them in a little bit.
Yeah, you're right.
No, but like you brought up a good point. A lot of
You're right,
schools
man. I
do
can't
have
argue with that.
pay to play now.
Right.
There's a lot of school districts doing that.
Not that I want to give our athletic director any more work, but it seems like we have more questions than answers. It would be a good idea to see who are we paying for shoes and who aren't we, and for him to dig in a little bit about the usage. And let's see, I mean, because I've been to some basketball games, I think, I noticed a couple kids wearing yellow shoes where everybody else, I mean, so you're talking 95% of the kids seem to be wearing the school shoes. And maybe there is a reason why, they're opting. I don't know the reason, but it'd be nice to have a little bit of facts on what we're paying for and what's getting utilized.
Right, and my question is, if we pay for things that aren't being utilized, where do those items end up and what do we do with those?
Like those shoes, would they just be given to the kids, so they would have them, whether they wear them or not, they're theirs, correct?
Correct.
So we're paying for shoes that they've taken home and
Right.
may not be using.
Okay.
I agree.
Director.
We need to get a little more.
Back in the old days when I played,
Every day.
Mr. McCara, you remember what we used
Cheering's
to
activity, but that
do?
needs to be
Seniors would
included
get
too, right?
new shoes, and then the
I know
juniors
they
would
buy
get
their
the
shoes
best of the
online.
leftovers,
Yeah.
the sophomores
The parents
would get whatever the heck was left, and every Thursday night, we had to take each other's shoes with us and clean them up for game day.
Or like that track, they were gross.
I remember painting helmets from the camp one year.
That's how we used to save money in the old days.
You're ready, aren't you? Okay. Bring it back. Bring it back. No, I don't.
We played without
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion.
Motion.
Well, it's too early to adjourn.
We're not done. Second, Mr. Morella.
On average,
Meeting adjourned.
How about
Mr. Crossvick's
we
gonna
need to
be
go
all.
back to the visitors?
Yeah,
I
we
think
are.
everybody's
Oh, we
problems
didn't
are
go
gonna be
back to the
solved
visitors.
shortly because our 3D printers, we could print a boiler, we could print shoes. Our problems are solved. Small investment.
Adjourn.
We'll never get rid of him now. Mr. Crossvick will be back next month now that we accepted a comment from him.
Is the meeting over?
No, the visitors are good.
Visitors have.
Visitors are good?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, they-
Another month.
Is there a right or wrong?
Okay.
You know what, I checked.
You're trying to trick me. Yeah, that's what I figured, you're trying to trick me.
Well, I do.
Bye, thank you.
I do.
You want to look at it?
Yes, I want to take pictures of accommodations.
I think we ought to make it, you know.
Yeah, my dad said, Mr. Schuster came up to me and said, thank you.
I'm sure you got a lot of credit there.
I'll fix that.
Leotards under your basketball.
What is up with
They're
that?
too comfortable.
What is up with that? Well, I don't understand. Why do they wear that? Why are there not? When I was in school, they wore booties.
Looking over table configuration.
You know? I don't
think
understand
we're
why.
working
They
on that.
did.
They were booties.
Yeah, they were awful.
Why are they? It doesn't sound good. Sorry.